So my name is Ewurabena. I'm an administrative assistant. I have two girls, a 2-year-old and then an almost 6-month-old baby. So the first one, you know, you get married and then everybody is expecting you to get pregnant. So a little pressure in there. So I was expecting to get pregnant. The first month, second month, third month, my mother calls and she's like, I don't want you to go through the same thing I went through. So stop praying. Or do you want to wait? And I'm like, I'm okay. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm okay. She's like, no, you don't have to go through what I went through. And so it kind of increased the pressure. And then by the 5th month, it happened. I was pregnant. So I wasn't feeling too good. My husband was like, let's go and get pregnancy test because we were expecting. So we did it. Then early that morning, I checked. He hadn't even woken up. I checked. And before I knew, he was actually standing at the bathroom door. I didn't realize it. There you have it. It's there. You are pregnant. And that was it. The second one, I was expecting and not expecting at the same time. I knew I would be pregnant, but I didn't take it seriously. So I just checked. My husband was out of town that day, so I checked and then I was, and I just took a picture and sent it to him. Dude, we are pregnant again. He was surprised, but yeah, that's how I found out I was pregnant for both of them. So for my first girl, her journey was very easy, honestly. And it was, I would say smooth, because I wasn't throwing up, even though I had morning sickness and all of that. But I was okay throughout. We were dancing around the place. I was pretty energetic with her. For her, I'll go to work. The only thing I didn't like about her was I was tired all the time. And that's one thing I hated. Like, I do the least thing, I'm tired, but I'm always trying to push myself to do better. So trying to feel better about myself, even though I was tired, but the second, however, pregnancy was smooth. It was okay, but I had a lot of emotional issues, or should I say hormonal changes. It was really intense with her, and she was a little heavier, so my tiredness was like ×2 of the first. But it was a smooth pregnancy also. I only had one problem with throwing up. That was once in the office. It was so strange for me. So that day I had to leave the office to the hospital because I'd never thrown up in any of my with either of them. And then all of a sudden one day I'm throwing up so much in the office. And so I had to leave and then go to the hospital to check, and they said, oh, yeah, fine, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, so I should drive all the way from here and come and come all the way for you to tell me that there's nothing wrong with me. I shame you. But yeah, that was the journey for them. For the first girl, that day I woke up in the morning and I was running. Yeah, I woke up and I was running in the morning. So the previous day I'd eaten wache with my husband. So I called him, I was like, dude, are you okay? No, I'm not okay here. And he said, oh, he's fine, like there's nothing wrong with him. So I was eating bread. That day I didn't eat anything, I was just eating bread. So I was supposed to go for my review in the afternoon. So I left the house around 2 or 3. And then he met me at the hospital. We got there, then doctor saw me, she was like, oh, your baby, you're fine, you're full term, but maybe baby will come around Wednesday or Thursday, so you can go home. I said, okay. So we were on our way home, and then I didn't feel good. But I said I wanted to eat rice and egg stew. So we got eggs. We got eggs around the area somewhere, and then we went home. I was to the gate, and I went inside to do the rice. Only to get inside, and I was like, no, I'm not feeling good. But he had to go back to work. So he left. So that was around 5:30-ish. He left and had to go and finish some things in the office. So he left, and I was in the house. But I told my mother-in-law I wasn't feeling okay. The way I was feeling, I wasn't sure if it was those forced labor things. And then she was like, oh, I'm sure you are okay. So I should, if I want to eat the rice and stew, you should do it for me. And I said, okay. I went to sit inside like 2 minutes. And I was like, no, I'm not okay. So I called my mother. And she's like, Dorcas, are you still at home? I said, yes. Pack your bag and get back to the hospital right now. And I was like, oh, it shouldn't be anything. This one. I said, please. She said, pack your bag and go back to the hospital. So I had to call my husband back. He hadn't gotten to the office, right? I had to call him back home. So we left home around 5:30. And that around 5:36, got to the hospital. And for the second one, it was my birthday. So I was going for my review as usual. And that was past my due date. But no, it wasn't past my due date. It was just about 2 days to my due date. And then, so my husband was like, oh, since it's my birthday, they should induce me so that people will come on my birthday. And I said, oh no, let's go to the hospital and check first. So we went to do our usual things. Saw the doctor. My husband kept insisting that the doctor should induce me that day. So I asked the doctor, please, what's inducing? Like, what's the process? Because I hadn't read anything about it. And then he's like, the first sentence he made is a way of helping God. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And that was it. I told him, no, I'm not doing this. So I'm going home. If it doesn't happen, I'll come back the following day, then you can induce me. But for now, no, I'm going home. And so that is how I was on my way back home. Since it was my birthday, we decided to go and have lunch somewhere. After having lunch, we went to pick the first girl from school. And then it started. Labor started like that. So we had to drop her off at home, rush back to the hospital. See how the way I'm struggling to find a word for it. I don't have a word for it. There's no word for labor, honestly. And even though it was short for me, by short I mean for the first girl, I went to the hospital around 5. No, we got to the hospital around 6:30-ish. And then the nurses were like, you're back again. And I said, yeah, so what I'm feeling, I don't think I can stay home. So they took me to a room. That was for the first. They took me to my room and then to the ward, I mean. And then taking me, trying to check the contractions and everything. And I told the nurse, please, the way I'm feeling, I can't lie down. And she told me, oh, you're not really gone like that, so you're only about 2 centimeters. I was like, 2. And she was like, oh, it would take you about, if it progresses fast, about 6 hours. So I can't go through this for 6 hours. It won't happen. I can't do that. So you should see me praying on my bed. And then I got down that, oh, child, I need to pee, so I want to go to the bathroom. The whole time, and that was like a 1 hour period, or less, about 45 minutes. I was like, please, what I'm feeling, I don't like it. So you let me go and pee and come back. I go in and I'm coming back. And I told the nurse, I can feel somebody's head coming. She was like, hey, you're dramatic. I said, please, please. And the whole time, my husband was just pacing up and down the room. I was like, please get out. I just told him, get out. And as soon as he got to the door, I told him, please come back, come back. So then everybody just burst out in laughter like that. So I told him to come and stand by me. He shouldn't go anywhere again. Just stand by me, but he shouldn't talk. I should be the one to be doing all the talking. So that was how labor was for me. It was very fast but very difficult and very intense. And very, very intense. I don't know how else to explain it. It was pain there. Honestly speaking, I don't know who can measure that kind of pain. The second, however, I think the second labor was more intense but shorter than the first. So I went in again. They go like, you're back again. I said, yes, I'm back again. I just left, but I'm back. So it was like that, very, very, very intense, but very short. So the whole time, after the second one, they didn't even check me at all. I didn't allow them to check me. I was just standing the whole time. And in fact, I was just leaning on my husband. So I was literally in pain on him. And he had to be standing there to carry this whole weight. And I gained so much. So he was carrying all that weight on him. But when it was finally time for the baby, I could sense that baby is here. And then, so I told them, please, baby is coming. And they couldn't believe it because it was really short. But I told them, baby is coming, so I don't have time. And if I don't take care, I would give birth in my room. The first one, I had to give birth in my room because there was no time to move from the room to the labor ward. But the second, I thought, if we are not careful, I will end up giving birth here to be extra work. So I finally allowed them to check, and they're like, yeah, you're right. So they wheeled me to the labor ward. And that was how it was for me. So for the first one, it was, let me just see my baby. Oh, here she is. Thank God. Let me sleep. But I had to be wheeled out and back to the labor ward so that they'll take the placenta out. And I had an episiotomy, so they had to stitch me up. The second one, it was the same thing actually. I was, okay, you're here, and I don't, okay, thank God, you're fine. Let's go to bed. But yes, that was basically it. I wasn't really excited or sad or anything. My first, from the hospital, no, we stayed like 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the hospital. So on Wednesday evening was when we were discharged. And going back home, I didn't really know what to expect. Because at the hospital, you have the nurses helping you, teaching you what to do. And she slept most of the time in the hospital. So I thought, oh yeah, I have a sleeping baby. So at least all we have to do is feed our baby sleep. I didn't know what to expect. So I was on my way home, okay. The second one, she was, because it was my birthday, so we were discharged the following day. So for her, it was a quicker one. And because of the first one's experience, I knew what to expect with the second. The first one though, when I got home, I had my mother-in-law, my father-in-law there to help me. So for me, I thought I had a lot of help. And so going home, and I was fine. I thought, okay, everything is fine. I really didn't understand the work that goes into taking care of babies. So we went home the first day, we're fine. By the second day, I was getting a little jittery. I wasn't sure what I was doing. And I was like, no, is this the life I'm living now? And she would cry. My first girl, Lord, she cried so much. She would cry, you feed her, you change her diaper, change her clothes, she's still crying. And so it threw me into a very confused state. And I kind of like had this baby blues, like you said. And so for her, it got to a point, there were times she'd be crying, and I'll just leave her there, because I had read maybe when a baby is crying so much and you've done everything, just put them down, they'll calm themselves. Nope, this girl cried her eyes out, and her crying is not like, oh, crying, comma, continue. No, there's no full stop to her cry. She just keeps going and going and going and going. So yeah, so randomly any weird thing, and then she would just stop crying. And it was very difficult for me, because you never know what to make her stop crying. She would keep crying, and you feed her, and I wanted to do exclusive, so it was breastfeeding all the time. And I'll put her to my breast, and she would suck for like an hour. For like an hour straight, we are sitting down, and she's sucking, and you are not allowed to take it out of her mouth, even when she's sleeping. She's asleep, she's still sucking. Yeah. So for her, it was very, very difficult. And you know, you want to express because you want to go back to work, because there was barely any time to do anything like that. So you express, you get something small, and then you are very sad because you think, like, it was very difficult for her. And so because of that period, plus healing from the episiotomy and all of that, I was like, no, I can't do this. And there were days I would just cry. I would cry so much. I would just sit in the room and be looking at her and crying. I would smile again and be looking at her and crying again, because I just couldn't figure out what I was doing and why I was doing what I was doing anyways. So by 3 months, my mother-in-law and my mother, they ganged up against me and decided that, you know what, we are giving her cocoa. And I was like, no, nobody's doing that. Before I knew it, both of them were in the kitchen, prepared the cocoa, cooled it, and brought it to her. I don't know how they managed to do that thing so fast. And she drank it. She drank all the cocoa. And so that day she slept. And so my mother was like, let me catch her. I come and need to know to me that. And then I was like, no, this is not right. So I tried formula. I got every kind of formula you can think of, and she won't drink it. You give it to her, she tastes a little, that's this, and then that's it, she won't drink it. So the formula wasn't working, so we had to switch to the cocoa, because I was resuming work in 2 weeks. So I had to try with the cocoa, and she was taking it, but she wasn't sleeping. So after the first one was a false sleep. After the second time, she drinks a little, back up again. She won't sleep. So that was my trouble with the first one. And so the second one, I told myself, look, I can't put myself through this again. So I decided to change my environment. So instead of going home like I did for the first, I came straight to my parents. Okay, well, after the hospital, I went home, showed it to my mother-in-law, and then packed up my stuff. But I couldn't come because she hadn't taken her BCG. So I didn't want to be roaming around the place and then something happens. So I had to stay home for like that. She was born on Thursday, so till Sunday. So it was Sunday that we moved to my parents. And I think it was a good choice I made, because the way I felt with the first one and how difficult it was for me, apart from my mother-in-law, I didn't have any other help. And I was like, moving from hospital, I mean, I've given birth. That is it. Can you people take your baby so I go on with my life? But no, it wasn't like that. I had to deal with baby and my life. And I had a hard time doing that. So it threw me into a very difficult place. And I didn't like the way I felt in those few months. So I decided that the second time, I'm going straight to my parents. For the second, she is not eating yet. So it's still breast milk for her. But the first one, because we started cocoa very early, I realized she was in a hurry to eat. She didn't have time for this breast milk business. So we gave her cocoa, in around 3 months, and then transitioned to Tom Brown. But I had got this steam blender. So yeah, mommy was ready to make food at home. You tried this, I tried potatoes, I tried carrots, everything. She didn't eat. She did not eat. Banku was what she wanted to eat. Yeah, it was banku and okro, and so it was some mixed feeling for her, because me, I want to make it that a big baby, like be a big child. Like, eat carrots and things. No, girl wanted to eat banku. So for her it was like that. The second, we are not there yet, but for her that was how it was, from breastfeeding to solids, and now she doesn't like to eat. I guess it's just a phase. The first one, there were times I could look at her, sir. The way she got excited. I don't know, 3 months, she'll be so excited when she sees us. Like, okay. I didn't expect that, because you know they say it'll take a little while. She recognizes every single person around her. By 10 months, no, by 9 months, she was standing. Yeah, by 9 months, she was standing on her own. By 11 months, I remember what actually happened with that was I was preparing a photo shoot for her. So we had gone to the studio, and then we were prepping the place up. And then the girl just gets up and starts walking. Just like that. At 11 months, I'm like, what did I feed you? How are you doing this so fast? You should have seen me that day, jumping around the studio. The photographers were looking at me like, it's not that deep, relax. But yeah, that was for her. The second one too, yes. She is, I don't know, I think maybe because there's a younger one at home with her, so she picks up on a lot of things. So she also recognizes people really fast. And so if she doesn't know you, she'll stare at you for hours. So she recognizes you. So the next time she sees you, she smiles. And she smiles a lot. So she'll be smiling at everybody and anybody. Yes.
Right.
I was looking for a place that was very accommodating. I wasn't ready to let her go to school, but I had to. She was about 1.5 years. Plus, we had a lot of things happening around that time. So we needed to get her to school. So we checked out a couple of schools in the neighborhood. Now, I wasn't impressed, honestly. So a friend recommended her son's school to me. And then I went there and I was like, oh, okay. So they tell me about what to do in the school, Montessori plus, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm good with this. As long as there's a lot of learning going to go on, then I'm fine. And I think I'm happy I did that. I expected a baby, and I knew, well, taking care of babies was a lot of work. But I didn't expect the kind of work that came with it. So for the first girl, and she thought, unfortunately, firstborns, unfortunately, would be the ones to teach us all the lessons. So for her, I had a hard time adjusting. Because in my mind, I thought, okay, this should be easy. Wake up, wash bottles, express milk, feed her, put her to sleep. But she wasn't sleeping. She was eating a lot, and I couldn't eat much. You know, they tell you to eat, that kind of, and I could not eat. So it was taking a toll on me. I wasn't able to adjust, because really I was now transitioning fully into the idea that I was really married. I was on my own, and then I get pregnant. And then I have to adjust to the fact that I'm pregnant. And then just when you're adjusting and you're fully okay, you're pregnant, you have to give birth. And then you give birth and your body is not coming back to the way you thought it was. And so the plenty of things that were happening was just too much, a bit too much for me. So I would cry a lot. I used to cry a lot. And I naturally don't like people seeing me cry, so I would hide in my room in the night. That's when I would cry because she won't sleep at night, and I would be holding her like that on my chest and then be crying because I just didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was too much for me. I wasn't healing too well with the episiotomy too. Even though I had gone to check and they said I was fine, but I wasn't okay. The healing process was difficult for me, and I really couldn't talk much about it because then it looks like you're complaining. When you're bad or complaining, and it wasn't really, honestly speaking, it was very difficult for me. So I had to intentionally find a way around it with my first. So around when I think she was about 9 months or 10 months, I had to find. One day I sat myself down, literally, sat myself down and spoke to myself. And I told myself that, look, this is your life. You have to deal with it. So that was how my process started or continued. Because before that, my boss had spoken to me and he felt I wasn't myself. So I had to speak to myself. And so it was a lot of prayer for me. Talking to myself, praying, and reading a lot. As for Google was my friend. I'll read anything and everything to be sure that I was okay and I wasn't struggling too much, or my situation was not an isolation. My second, however, because of what I've gone through with the first, I told myself that I was going to change my environment. So I changed my environment. I got extra help, and miraculously, I mean, it's been easier with her. I've been able to adjust better to dealing with her life. Thankfully, or should I say thankfully, COVID is here, so it made it easier for me. So now I can stay with my baby and not be too concerned about going through traffic and being late to work and all of that. Yeah. So it was easier with the second one. I gave birth in February, so I had up to the first week in May to resume work. And then by March, there was a lockdown. Like, okay, good for me. So there was a lockdown, and then people got back to work. I mean, when it was lifted. And then my company says, no, work from home. So I've been home since. God knows how grateful I am for that. God knows how grateful I am. And I get to see my kids. And so I think it's easier with the second one because I'm at home. I don't need to struggle too much, so I can cook in between. They get fresh food every day. I feel better about the second one. The first was really hard. When I was going back to work with the first one, I thought, okay, I'm leaving home, so I'll be okay. Like running away from the plenty crying and all of that to office maybe for the short period and then get my mind off it and come back home. But I get to office and my mind is 100% at home. I could not concentrate on work. For like the first couple of months, it was that hard for me. I couldn't concentrate on work. Even though I was trying to put in my all, I couldn't fully. So there were little mistakes that under normal circumstances I shouldn't be making. But because of that, I had to keep at it. I was struggling with that for a while. And I didn't want to be calling home so much and look like I was obsessed. So I didn't want to do that. I just do what I had to do and leave, go to work. And most of the time I'm on my phone hoping that, okay, maybe they'll send me a text or send me a picture, tell me that, okay, everything is fine. And that was how it was for the first one. It was a struggle with the first. There have been so many things. Making choices and praying that they go well. And that was the main thing for me. That's the main thing actually. It's still the same. And so, yeah, every day you're trying something new, trying to teach them something, trying different things. Every day you're trying something different, so that maybe, just maybe, this would be perfect for them. So like, you don't want to commit the mistakes of your parents, but you don't want to make new mistakes, and that's like a very difficult thing to do. My mother says, in my language, "Walen your thing and you want my iPhone," and I'm like, that day, it was a joke. It means like, we haven't finished raising you and you want to go and give birth. She was laughing at me that day, and I was like, oh, no, it's not like that too. But when I thought about it, it means parenthood is like a lifetime. It doesn't end. So I've learned to be a little easy on myself and not get too worked up, because I can get very worked up. Like, you know, when you try something and it doesn't work, and you're like, are you that dumb? No, it shouldn't be like that. So like, those are kind of things that you talk to yourself about, and you're hoping that you're not speaking negative to yourself and transferring it to your kids as well. There are lots of things around this whole parenting thing. It's very hard, but it's fun at the same time. Just watching them laugh. Watching them laugh is it's a blessing. To see your kids laugh is a blessing. People don't get that a lot. Maybe someone say they are young, so yeah, they'll be laughing and all of that. But it's a gift to actually see your kids look at you and smile, and you make silly faces and they laugh. We sing songs together, like with the older one. We sing, and she's dancing around the place. I like to dance, so to see her also do that means that you're not doing badly after all. Somebody is picking something good. Yeah. It's nice. It's just lovely to see them grow. At least I haven't killed a human yet. So. Parenting is hard in itself, and it's hard in itself, and so you shouldn't let it get to you too much. And that's a lesson I'm still learning, because you look at other parents. Honestly speaking, they say comparison is the thief of joy or happiness or whatever, and you look at people's kids, they're doing certain things, and I'm like, no, you're not doing this yet. Why? You're about the same age. You should be doing that. And so there's always pressure on you to do better, to be a better parent, because more like your kids are a reflection of you. So you want to do better. And then, so when it happens like that, you're putting so much pressure on yourself, and more like to be perfect. And there's nothing like a perfect person, nothing like a perfect parent. So I don't want us to feel like we have to be this, let me say, what culture expects us to be. Just be the best of yourself. That's it. I would wish that our partners, our partners would take note of these little changes that happen with us. Because it's like, you're a mother now. Every woman has a mother instinct. So you're okay, you're fine. But the person, let me use mothers. So the mother may be going through something you may not know about. And so just paying attention to the little changes that are happening around the person, you realize that no, this is not who I knew you to be. Are you okay? What can I help you with? What can I do for you? Would you want us to go out? Just step out a bit, just look around. And these are the things we should be helping our partners with, so that at least they know that they're not alone in this journey. And it helps them easily heal or get back to who they really were before this whole change happened. The other one, Babies change our lives for good. And there's nothing we can do about it. They will completely change your life. And there's a tendency to feel bad because maybe you didn't achieve something before getting the baby. So it's like, why am I, did I jump something? Did I jump a step? Because somebody is doing something and achieving themselves. So all these things, Charlie, don't kill yourself. It's not that hard. It's not that deep. Relax. We'll get through it. And if it means getting a support system, by support system, you can get someone you trust, but you can't really open up to the person. But get someone you can easily open up to and fully trust. And the person will teach you, probably help you, if you are lucky, help you through all of this whole change that is happening. That's my little sermon.